The audio is going to be low, I believe. Give me one more second to try to do. I can't do something. So let me tell you something. Good evening and welcome to Mo Knows featuring me, Mo Momo. Ugh. I would like to consider myself a member of the critical thinkers. Brace yourself. I had to wait till the weekend to get here. I couldn't come live during the week. Um, well, that's interesting. I gotta go do a sound check. Oh, let me see if I can do it over here. All right, y'all prohibited from telling me that I sound low because I know it's a possibility. I definitely know it's a possibility. The bit rate. I dropped the bit rate on Zoom. I mean, I'm not on Zoom today. My Zoom would not connect. I don't know what that's about. But anyway, I could not resist from coming out here and talking to you or sharing my thoughts about elections having consequences. I would be remiss if I didn't come out here and remind folks, if you didn't vote, and I think this is critical, you don't have the privilege to complain about a process you did not participate in. You don't have the right to do that. Because when it mattered, you could have hit the polls. So that's one group of people. And then the people that voted and you got what you wanted at the time, whatever the evolution was that made you make the decisions that you made. How are you feeling now? Because, like, in my life, I don't got time for three peats or repeats, right? You only get one chance to try to take me out. Um, it will be forever, and we will forever be the generation that lived through the second pandemic, but probably one that could have been prevented had people had the qualified individuals making decisions. And to forget about all of that, to go backwards because people wanted some kind of financial security, because that's what I kept hearing from the powers that be, the people that was speaking to why they were taking the steps that they were taking. How's it working out for you? Everything, you do need money, but everything in life is not about money. It's about some liberties. What good is all the money if you can't be free? Free to speak, free to walk, free to live. But only until your freedoms are taken away from you can you appreciate what makes them inalienable rights. But in any event, recent developments, I never, kick me 10,000 times, I never heard of a Charlie Kirk until last weekend. I'm not even, maybe somebody said something about him in passing, but Mo Momo, she ain't never heard of him until he was no longer. Will I cover that court case? Absolutely. Because on the trial side of things, I believe that it deserves coverage. I don't really got any opinions right now other than the fact that I don't believe the information that has been put out here. And I've already been to my little corner of the world, my little YouTube space, and I already put on my community wall my initial thoughts of the circumstances surrounding his arrest. Let me say hi to Karenza for stopping through before I could even get here, and Nunya for dropping out of the bushes. But so I never heard of this guy. But one thing I know for certain is he was assassinated. He was assassinated, and at the end of the day, they have somebody in custody that they want to hold accountable. Does anybody remember a name? Timothy McVeigh. You need to know your history. I was speaking to somebody recently, and they was like, oh, they're not going to execute. They're going to execute that dude. They're going to execute that dude. They're going to execute him for several reasons. They're going to take us through this whole, well, maybe they won't execute him. Maybe they'll put the execution on the table, give him the death penalty as the final option, and maybe he'll settle for life in prison. But let's face it, if he was engaging in certain type of behaviors, he could definitely engage in those in the environment that he's in. Me personally, I believe the whole family should have been arrested. That's just me. I believe all of the Robinsons should have been arrested, if that's their names, but definitely Mama Dearest, Papa Dearest, and Grandpa. Mo, what's wrong with you? It's just what I posted. It doesn't make sense to me that they turned in their family member. It was like, remember being on that island, and it's like self-preservation. Who? I think the feds should stay out of it because Cash Patel, sir, he don't need to be. He has compromised. I don't have any. Listen, between the FCC, the FE, the feds, I have no confidence in this administration and this leadership. There used to be a time that you could say, maybe 4 years or 8 years ago, you could have said under the original Trump administration that even if you didn't have confidence in his leadership or the people he put in place, you had some kind of sound mind that the people who work these as career job, career FBI, career feds, career everything, would still do their job, even if the person who was put in the leadership role lacked the knowledge. At this point in time, everybody's doing self-preservation, and all they're trying to do is collect their check. The integrity of these processes has been compromised. And I just, I saw Trump over there, over in the UK, And I said to myself, did somebody give him something? Is he suffering from the after effects of getting a truth serum or something? And like the way he was stumbling over his words, the world wants to tell us that he's getting old. He don't want us to believe he's getting old. And I'm gonna go by what he says. I'm thinking that somebody is picking his brain. I feel like he done went to some third world country, you know which one that is, and had a meeting with somebody, and somebody slipped him something to find out something. Only thing, when I speak to my daughter, I'm always saying, well, we need him to get through the next 3 years because I have no idea what's going to happen with the vice president. I just, if you, we already know the environment that we're in with Trump. We have no idea what environment we would be in with the vice president as being president. So I'll just hope that the next 3 years, the current president, 45 and 47, 45 to 47, is just here to do out his term. I'm hoping that midterm elections come around, and at least, hopefully, there could be some more balance put in place in the legislative branches that are there in the House and in the Senate. And personally, if people think that I'm saying we need more Democrats to take the seat, I don't care if it's those undecided people or the ones that are undetermined or whatever it is. You need some kind of number that's going to break between the two sitting parties to get negotiations or to get some level of government to resume its position. Tyler Robinson's family turned him in the moment they heard about the weapon. Here we've been sitting up here for years now, dealing with these mass shootings and listening to people explain to us how it's these powerful weapons that folks got and how they retrofitted them to have all these cartridges, and that is what's causing the carnage. Homie came out here with some antiquated gun from the 1912, put a scope on it, and with one single shot, man, he outdid the dude that took out Kennedy. One single shot. And the family turned him in when they realized what the weapon. My mom wants to talk about, I saw his face and knew that was my son. Okay. Don't that sound like some proud mama stuff right at that moment? I was like, ooh. The mama was a gangster, you know, me just talking on myself, right? I understand that work. I understand that business. That's when you living vicariously through your seed. And you're like, him did that? That's his work? Yeah. I'll talk about Jimmy Fallon, or whatever his name is, Jimmy Kendall, whatever the comedian's name was. See, that shows you how much I know these people. But the Jimmy dude, hey DOD, the stuff is just this stuff is just crazy. But freedom of speech gone. You do not have that in a dictatorship. You just do not have that. They want to call it Aragog and all this other stuff. Y'all go ahead and spend your time spinning your breath speaking on stuff you cannot change, instead of finding ways to work around maybe even circumventing the processes right now. But this is definitely a broke system. Just definitely a broke system. One gun, one man laid out on a roof, a gun and a towel. Listen, Grandpa didn't want to go to jail because that was his weapon of mass destruction. It just reminded me of not Osama bin Laden, but my good old, I was about to say my good old friend, but the good old guy over there, weapons of mass destruction, Saddam Hussein. I just remember him. Remember him, Saddam Hussein? Right? And they hung him. And then I ran to Reddit to see it because I had to see it. I ain't gonna hold y'all. I had to see this one, the shooting in the neck too. I had to see it. I ran to see it. I'm not even gonna pretend, sugarcoat it, make it smell good. I went to go see it. I couldn't pass the moment up to be like, this is crazy. They've been going after Candace Owens. There she is. This is me making a snowman now. I'm on to something else. But it's surreal to me, the text messages that they purported to have been the communications between Mr. Robinson and I don't know who, his roommate. I'm just going to leave it like that. They don't make sense to me. I'm not going to sit up here and do a live stream around them. I've never seen a press conference. This is just talking about the anomalies and the things that I've never seen before. And this is an administration that is telling you that they're trying to give us transparency, which is why we never seen this before. No, we never seen this before because we've never been fed propaganda so openly. Like, it's one thing to have propaganda and it's coming from people that think they're more educated than you, they know better than you, and they feel like they are not providing you with the information because they're protecting you. Versus the people that just feel like they're going to tell you anything because you're going to go for everything because you ain't got no other choice. That's the world we're living in today. Where's the weird message? There was definitely one message that tweaked me. There was one message that definitely had me thinking with the stinking thinking. First of all, I need to find, hold up, let me find the message to look under the keyboard. Hold up, I just gotta get that message. Okay. This drop what you're doing. Look under my keyboard. Then the roommate followed the instructions. When the roommate followed the instructions, they're calling it a they, okay? But the roommate reportedly found a handwritten note that read, and I just want you to listen to the language in the handwritten note. And I want you to listen to it from the perspective Yo, when somebody told me AI wrote the messages, I was like, no, AI wrote the stuff that they're saying to us. But beyond that, I just want you to close your eyes for one moment and imagine somebody before they engage in the activity, because this is where we talk about people say premeditation, but in the law, they look for intent. Your mens reas. What was your mens reas at the time that you engaged in the activity? And they're giving us the intent. So think about it from the perspective of, I wrote this note. What would the note, what mindset, what would be the mens reas of the person the day before or hours before he left out and traveled for 3 hours to the Utah University? What would have been his intent? Here's what he wrote. I had the opportunity to take out CK, and I'm going to take it. But you already did it. By the time you asked the knucklehead roommate to go under the keyboard. I was wondering if he wrote that, had already told this knucklehead about it, and this is the story that they came up with afterwards. I'm up here in my Johnny Cochran moment. If it doesn't fit, don't fall for the shit. I'm just saying, because that's a mode thing, right? But it's just at some point. First of all, the guy can't get no fair trial. If we talking about fair, in no, they didn't. So what we learned from the Donald Adelson case, right? Just mixing my cases right now, but living in the land where warrants and certain things called amendments, like Fourth Amendment, like all of these amendments mean nothing in this current regime that we're in again. I had the opportunity to take out CK, and I'm going to take it. It's not the message that you point your roommate to when you are alleging that somebody else, you did it, somebody else got arrested for it, some old dude got arrested for it, and blah blah blah. Like, it just this if it doesn't fit, don't fall for the shit. That's all I'm gonna say. Digital confessions. That's all I'm seeing these days. I don't think no, cuz that's a note. That's the handwritten note. Um what other data did they get from it? So this is what happened when they took him into custody. They took his phone. They're reading verbatim the messages in his phone to the person. They're not reading messages that they got. They haven't, what do you call that? They haven't. So they took his phone. Hey, Sam. They took his phone and they sat there and they're reading it like this. They ain't been nowhere to corroborate the communications. They ain't done none of that. They ain't done that. They did this. They went, got his phone, and you know whose phone they probably really got? The lover. That's whose phone they got. So, gentlemen, this is why you need real women in your, like, if you had a down ass chick and not a dude who flipped, She might have wrote a little harder and did that. They used no forensics tools to retrieve the data from his phone. Correct. I don't believe they did. I believe they used the hardcore phone of either him or the roommate to find these messages. Um, I don't remember hearing in the press conference that they gave us any indication other than I was kind of surprised listening to the press conference and getting that kind of detail. Mm, maybe not the roommates. Maybe not so much the roommate's cell phone. They will need, but they probably already got warrants for anything that was on his person when they took him into custody. But the roommates was a willing participant. He was willing to get questioned. He was willing to be questioned by the police because he didn't want to be an accessory after the fact. He's living in Mormontown. Let's set the scene, right? He's transitioning and they letting the whole world know he's transitioning. And he's living in Mormontown. Everything they was engaging at, their neighbors don't like, don't appreciate, can't understand. He gave them whatever he needed to give them. He gave them whatever. He gave them whatever they needed. I don't believe it either. To be honest, I don't, I don't, I don't really, I don't, I don't believe it either. To be quite honest, I don't believe it either. I cannot believe that we're living in a society. I just can't believe the things that where we are today is a consequence of that election. So Exhibit A right now is that handwritten note that we're supposed to believe. There's so many confessions that this guy allegedly did. Let's not marginalize the super confession. The one where when I first heard the story, maybe y'all heard the same one, but correct me. The family, the mama jumped up and said, "That's my son. I recognized him." Called the daddy. The daddy said, "I don't know." Mm. Then the gun got released. Then the grandpa was calling the grandson. Mm. Right? And they was already talking. They done went to the neighbor, snatched up homeboy. Can you just imagine? They ran, snatched him up. Grandpa or daddy went and snatched up homeboy, took him over there to this guy who was supposed to have been a former law enforcement person. But when I first heard the story, they said the person that turned him in was clergy. Was was a member of clergy. Um The reason why they keep, the reason why they are arbitrarily bypassing the fact that the person he confessed to was a member of clergy is because there is an amendment that says, it's one of those good old amendments, right? That you can confess to clergy, and it's one of those it's like attorney client privilege. It's a pastoral so when they did this when they did this when they did this press conference, they made every effort to shift to the fact that he was a 27-year veteran of the county sheriff's department. The moment you've got to hide facts, your case is weak. That's what I found interesting about the whole press conference. So this week's key word to me is First Amendment. We got a we have a whole administration in place that doesn't give a hootenanny about something called a constitution, doesn't give two hootenannies about First Amendment. There is a privilege between clergy. So I believe when he does, I heard people screaming, why didn't the father get him an attorney? Listen, them parents ain't getting him nothing because they want to detach themselves from him as much as possible. What people don't want to emphasize is that although there is a Republican Party, it is fractured. It is broken. It has been broken for years now. That's why they had a Tea Party. They try to make you, they try to make you forget, right? As if you wasn't sitting here watching some of this stuff unfold. They had their own Tea Party. Now they have their MAGA constituents. But at the end of the day, they all belong, and this is what the comedian said, they all still on that same side of the fence. It's just different levels to it. It's like being a member of the African American community and coming in various, just having a variety, a smorgasbord. In that party, in that Republican Party, they have people who are passionate about the things they believe in on several different levels. It does not make him part rooting for the other team. As much as they would like to throw out some of their members who don't share their ideology to their fullest extent, they can't. Yeah, so that is going to be pretty interesting. They do explicitly express in the press conference his role. So there's definitely more to come, and that is a trial that if it stays on the state level, I will definitely be taking a moment to look at it. She said a forensic note. Did did, did the did they get a handwriting expert? When you have a press conference and you are tainting the jurors, that information, all the information that they provided us with was not going to stop the conspiracy theorists that are out there. It was not going to curtail people's way of thinking. So what they should have done was just try to preserve their case in chief, their prima facie case, and then just move forward and see where things take them. So that's one aspect of the digital confessions. It does bring me concern again to believe that I am going to be more of a bystander moving forward when I'm in chat spaces. And the reason why is because I don't want to be in these big environments like I go into court TV, so to say, a law and crime. And you're in there with people spilling whatever they want to say. they saying whatever they want to say. And at the end of the day, um something like this goes down, and because you're there once upon a crime with them, writing in the room, you could become subject to being interviewed. That's going to bring me segueing into the case with the guy D4VD. This digital space today, it has consequences. It really does. Every platform that you go into is not worthy of your commentary. If you want to protect your peace later on down the road. Carenza, I was listening to you the other day when you was talking about the people that came in and had something negative to say to you inside your room. And I was saying to myself in your comments, and I was saying to myself, you know what? These people share a different opinion than them. They bring their toxicity into your environment, and they could subject you to being for having oversight later on. I ain't got time for that. I ain't got time for that. So I'm definitely I'm starting to believe that I might not even need a chat, to be quite honest. Especially when you're covering some of these more controversial topics where there is an environment that freedom of speech is under assault, where if you say your opinion, which you are entitled to, you could truly end up on the unemployment line because the folks who don't know how to critically think for themselves and the folks that don't know how to defend their positions will do anything to quiet you because, one, you can articulate a point of view beyond the rhetoric. You can process it, you've been engaged in it, and you understand what the work of the people entails. Like, you can't come, Carenza, you're still here. You can't come to some of us who have been doing the work of the people, the community organizing, the actual boots on the ground for. I had constituents once upon a crime, but I also had neighbors. I also had family and friends that I protected in some element of another. You know, just being in the leadership role, being one of the voice for the voiceless. But to deal with these, to deal in this, the way I see things today has me speechless. And sometimes I feel like my silence is golden on some of these topics. Because the consequences are they're too high. You understand? The only thing that the cyberbullies haven't been able to do is really come out and strike you down. But they do try to take everything that they can from you. Sanity in the chat, if you call it, their intrusions, their inability to process, their inability to make informed, cohesive arguments that stay on point, that don't try to drift into, I asked you a question, I need you to answer me first. Like, the whole techniques, the over talking, like all of the things that you know comes from people who don't know how to communicate effectively. Folks who don't want to listen to learn, or listen to and be. I guess you are listening. If you're listening and learning, you are being empowered at that point. But it's just folks that it's beyond knowing the law. It's the fact of the matter today is that many folks have no self-esteem. They don't believe in themselves. So how can they believe in anything else? They walk around envious of what the next person has, as if it's an entitlement to them. That's why stealing is at an all-time high. That's why, you know, like back in the days, thieves have always been amongst us, right? But ask, what was thieves stealing? Today, I could go into a Walgreens, and I have recently. Everything was locked down. I joked with the girl. I said, well, damn, you know what they need to get? They need to get a robot that just come in the store, leave us all outside standing in line, and just let us come and tell you what it is we want. And let the robot go around here pick it up, because you can't get anything. Things are on, candy bars were on lockdown. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back to that Walgreens because I've never seen it. I saw the soap powder locked up. I saw the different things. First of all, if you buying soap powder out of Walgreens, it's gotta be an emergency because it's expensive as heck. But I seen the things, everything was locked up. The only thing that wasn't locked up right now was the Halloween, the stuff in the seasonal aisle. Everything else was locked down. Pads locked down. Pampers locked down. Baby formula locked down. Shampoo, conditioner locked down. Everything. They stealing everything. They stealing your joy. There's a consequence behind being a thief. The prices are going up. Then we got these tariffs. I can't, you know, I have hobbies. I'm over here. I can't get my planner this year because I'm not willing to spend that kind of money. I'd be better off right now buying me a ticket to Japan and getting the things that I like to buy than purchasing them. It, it's, it's just too much. All right, that digital confession. Um, More to come on Tyler Robinson. It's just crazy. It's just crazy. All right, this guy, DV, this David dude, right? I want everyone to put a pause in it for a moment. One, Mo went to go listen to that music. Girl, girl, ladies and gentlemen, I was not ready for the darkness. I was not ready for that. Man, our younger generation, see, this is what had happened to me is that when I get in my car, I'm listening to my R. Kelly's. I'm stuck in my genre of music, the stuff I like. Keith Sweat, Levert, Patti LaBelle. Like, I'm still stuck listening to the thing. Listen, I took a moment into these people's heads. It's some dark stuff. I listen. I never heard of this CK dude. I'm not even saying his name because I don't want me in the algorithm on his level. I never heard of him. Notice a mind is a terrible thing to waste. They sitting up there trying to pollute our campuses, the college campuses, spreading that hella hate, and we wondering where it's coming from. Talking about this David guy. Did you see the teacher who's in there explaining to his students that he used to have the girl in the class? The students think he's crazy. They went and recorded him and put him on TikTok. It's a weird world we living in. The man is allegedly trying to tell them he should actually probably be suspended for teaching. He's supposed to be teaching whatever class he was supposed to be teaching. Somebody said it was science. He should have stayed on the subject. But I understand his teachable moment, but the kids ain't listening, sir. They went and made you go viral on the internet. And you sound like a fool. You said the police brought her back to the school. Why didn't the police return her to her family? Like, his story didn't make any sense, but I understood what his point of view was to the kids. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty. And just because the car is registered to him doesn't mean he's got anything to do with anything until they come back with some more evidence. So everyone is like, his days are numbered. This is coming to, like, where is the innocent until proven guilty aspect? Everybody wants to be on this pristine road. Like, I'm predicting, I want to be the first one to say that this man is guilty. I'm a little mad at TMZ. I want to know what the shh means. I want to know what mother in her right mind gets up here and says, my daughter had a boyfriend, a daughter who went missing at 11, 12, 10, 9, 8, whatever. The daughter went missing. And you talking about she had a boyfriend. I'm going to need to understand. I'm going to need to understand why she was redeemed and brought back to the school. She needed to be far away from you, lady. There was a lack of supervision there. Something was astray. Now I done heard too many different things. I done heard that people. I done heard too many different things. So I'm going to wait until somebody is arrested. Now, I did hear people ask if he was the age that he is now. Girl, bye. You know where my daughter is at. like, you understand? I'm not having an adult as well, but at the end of the day, man, listen. That dude would have been singing in that dark. He would have had a song for me. He would have been like, my girlfriend has this crazy ass mother. She came and tried to strangle this brother. That girl has that crazy ass mother. Yeah, that's what he would have been singing. Because this homicide song he's singing, I was just like, I'd have gave him something to sing about. He would have been like, I had this girlfriend, and she had this crazy ass mother. She strangled me and tried to smother the brother. But he wouldn't be singing the song. So I'm going to have to listen for some other music. Because, I was like, I don't know. It's dark. It's dark. But anything you could do with a guitar and some notes. Let me get my guitar down. That's my daddy's guitar. Let me get my guitar down and get down to playing some stuff. I think it needs to be tuned, whatever you call it. But, man, bye. Okay, so all I'm going to say is that the manager was living at that address. This guy was on tour when the car was moved back and forth. For all we know, girlfriend could have been left behind driving the car. I heard something. One of these newscasters while I was sleeping, because the stuff just be playing. I heard something. I heard that they found another car a couple of days ago before that car with the body in it too of a young lady. That's what I had heard on here. So either you got a serial cutting up bodies or whatever. I don't know what it is, but give somebody innocent until proven guilty, and know that some people have been, some systems have failed some people along the way. I want to talk about deportations. Saw an article or saw some stream about a young lady and her mother being sent back to their country. I think it was Guatemala, and the mother passing away while over there. This is like young lady. She said her mother was depressed and was scared to leave. And this is why they had came to America in the first place. We got an administration with no heart in place. And I understand why they feel the way they do. And I hear so many people, so many non-black and browns who have come over here from other countries keep making these sound bites about how they've entered here legally and they were able to participate in the process honestly, and now they are citizens. You didn't come from places where people was being chased down. You didn't come from the disadvantaged situations that others have come from. Whoopee to you that you was able to partake in the American process. Whoopee to you. A lot of people that were here in America didn't choose to be here in the first place. They were stolen, brought over here, auctioned off, confined to do indigenous work, built something for a lot of folks, fed a nation, raised a nation, but we need not talk about all of that stuff. Just some just some food for thoughts. You understand? They participating in the process they didn't want to be involved in either. The free labor, the free everything. The free everything. So more to come on him. Whatever becomes of that case, I'm definitely gonna follow it. There was another case inside of, I believe it was California. Just staying on the digital stuff. Digital confessions. OnlyFans chick. Black girl. Love her curls. Man, she had them curls on fleek. She doing better than me. But you know, I gotta get rid of my green screen because they don't pop. My curls don't pop as much as they really pop in life because of the green screen. But this young lady is on trial. OnlyFans chick. Now listen. Let me get the OnlyFans because this is just unfreaking believable. Just unfreaking believable. Let me get So I'll be following this. No, is it? Yeah, it's OnlyFans trial. I'm gonna say woman suffocates. Okay, so I am not even gonna try to pronounce girlfriend's name, but let me just give you. She's charged with second-degree murder. Um, okay, in California. So let me just. So some dude paid her $11,000. So if you don't know what OnlyFans is another social space that people go to, and it's more of a sex scandal, type of environment, right? And people pay you to do things. This guy had some fetishes, and he paid this married woman to engage in this activity with him. So I guess he just moved into this, he was renting a room inside of this home with several roommates who were present in their rooms at the time he was murdered. I'm not going to use unalived over here, so I just don't understand it, but he was murdered. We talk about court cases over here, and court cases have the untimely deaths of folks, right? So, in April 2023, the woman traveled to the California home of Michael Dale. So Michael Dale is the victim here. He's the decedent. In trials, they call him the complainant because but for his death, there would be no case against this lady. He was 56 years old. He paid $11,000 for a BDSM session. Okay, according to the courtroom documents, um, he requested. So he paid the $11,000, and the service that she was supposed to provide is as follows. He requested to be wrapped like a mummy in saran wrap, have women's boots glued to his feet, and engage in erotic asphyxiation. But what follows went far beyond the consensual kink. Okay. She wrapped him. She allegedly wrapped his head in a plastic bag, secured it with duct tape, and filmed the act while holding a vibrator. He was found with duct tape over his mouth, saran wrap around his neck, and his hands immobilized, making it impossible to remove the bag. Despite her initial denial, investigators recovered. This is digital confessions, okay? And listen, her husband, is on the other side of she's filming it and he's in the audience as she's doing this. Saran wrap around his neck, and despite her initial denial, investigators recovered 8 minutes of footage showing Dale struggling to breathe. Now, somebody testified in the preliminary hearings that they heard him pleading for offering to pay her more for her to stop, is what the guy testified to. So here's the thing. The session was being recorded on OnlyFans. So this will be one of those digital confessions when they should be able to get the evidence from the platform, all that stuff you was talking about, Carinza. They should be able to get that evidence and present it. So to go through this first phase, this first trial that she went through, the guy, they put on just a little bit of information to say that they have probable cause to sustain the charges against her. He was declared brain dead the next day and later died from asphyxiation, which the medical examiner ruled a homicide. Homicide, remember this, is when the decedent's death was caused by another person. It's not of natural causes. It's not of a disease. It is as a result of somebody else. It becomes criminal when they bring the charges against you and they charge you with the homicide. So just remember that all homicides are not criminal acts, but if the prosecution deems that you engaged in some behavior, they will proceed. All right, just giving you a little background of this person. She's a mother of 3 and former adult party entertainer. Former is definitely the word of the day. She's pleaded not guilty and remains detained without bail. Her OnlyFans account was Ashley Sincal. Has since been removed, so you're not going to find the account, but it's been removed because it's probably all part of the trial here. So she had a preliminary hearing the other day, and we will definitely be watching this. Some people believe that it was it's consensual sex. And I've heard a lot of I heard a lot of chatter. Actually, I was talking to somebody about it, and they was like, he put himself in that position. So why is she being held accountable? Because in this world, you're held accountable for your actions. Man, um, people believe, but so in a criminal world, right? The person who engages in the act is going to be held responsible in the criminal, by a trial of their peers, right, on the criminal side. But the platform OnlyFans could and maybe should be sued on a civil by his estate because it was definitely being streamed. People saw it and people witnessed him dying on the live stream. So maybe they do have some responsibility to um, screen their platform a little better. Um, there's an issue between fantasy and fatality. I mean, I guess we'll just have to see the trial and see what comes out of it. I'm sure uh, there's going to be a lot, maybe people will testify that from that world of doing those kind of sex acts, and you know sex will be on trial. But at the end of the day, a man is deceased and a woman is on trial for it. And it's a digital confession. It's going to be the workings of whatever they put on social media is going to become exhibit A in that case. Um Let me see what other cases. Adelson filed. If you don't know, she is the mother-in-law who was found guilty of um, conspiracy to murder her son-in-law, um, Mr. Markel, who was a Markel, who was a professor. Personally, I watched the trial. I don't feel like she was guilty of the charges lodged against her. I feel like the crime took place so long ago that perhaps the appropriate charges, which are not the murder in and of itself, wasn't levied because they probably have a statute of limitations and couldn't be levied. I do believe that she was aware. I'm giving you my opinion. My opinion is that Donna Adelson was made aware by her children, both the son and the daughter, of their roles in the death of her son in law. I believe the two of them did it. I believe Wendy Adelson had some kind of communications with the girl in the middle, Benoit, all because they bought the picture of her on the beach with her without Charlie. Wendy testified that she speaks Spanish. She was the one who ordered the food for that 70th birthday for the father. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. As a parent, I believe they confided in their mom and they told their mom what they did. So when the bump situation occurred and the police engaged, or the FBI engaged in that activity, she was very much aware of what was going down. I believe she believed whatever stories her kids told her. And she's going to spend the rest of her natural life in prison for it. I believe that this prosecution played a very nasty game with how they prosecuted all of them. Benoit, the two guys, the actual murderers, the one that turned state. I ain't mad at the guy who had a federal case and he flipped on all of them and he spoke. Lewis, I'm not mad. I'm not disappointed in him. The boyfriend, the children's father, Benoit. I just don't understand, and it does not make sense to me that a guy who was angry that his children's mother was dating the dentist would then go out there and knowingly execute the dentist's brother-in-law at his request. I don't believe that. It just don't make sense to me. I really do believe that the girl in the middle, Katie, was in the middle strategically. I do believe when God testifies and said, I would have rather have robbed Adelson if I knew he had that kind of money. I believe that. I believe there was some kind of I believe that there was something else happened there. And Katie was in the middle of it. And Charlie was she probably told Charlie that Alfredo, her children's father, was threatening her, and that's why she was doing the things and taking the money between and whatever. I believe the silly story about the double what do they call it? Blackmail. Something about that blackmail story sounds like there's more to it. Charlie didn't exactly tell us the truth about it, but there's more to it. And I believe that the prosecution knows it, which is why they bifurcated the case. Because if they would have tried them all at one time for one big conspiracy, they would have not been able to carry out the verdicts. And they knew this after they had tried to do Katie and the children's father together. You know, Katie and he was actually the person who did the murder. The hitman. The other guy was the driver. When they tried her and he together and he was found guilty and he still hasn't said a word, I'm sorry. I just, I don't know. I feel a certain kind of way about it. There's something in that story that they still didn't get to the bottom of it. And because they still didn't get to the bottom of it, it'd have been reasonable doubt to me. But it is not lost upon me that in order for, and this is going to sound very, it's going to sound racist, what I'm going to say. In order for Donald Adelson to have gotten a fair trial, she needed a trial of her peers, and her peers would have been Jewish people. They needed to impanel a whole Jewish panel, period. Because I felt like their traditions and how they think was not conveyed accurately to the people that was sitting there. The people could not identify with the person being tried. And we say that all the time when we are looking at jurors who are seated on trials for black defendants. We say all the time, oh, wait a minute, they didn't get a jury of their peers because it it didn't look like them. People didn't understand the culture. When Donna had her friends come and testify, that was the first moment for me that I realized that the trial for her was unfair because she didn't have the benefit of her community trying and convicting her. See, when her friends got up there and testified, and they like, we think it like, you just had to understand it, the language, the way they think was on trial, but not with like-minded people considering it. I personally don't like the deceased person from this trial. Now, I saw the first trial that got I saw the first trial between Katie and Alfredo. I saw that trial, not knowing this whole big thing, but I did watch that several years ago, right? And when she was acquitted, and then they retried her, and then she was found guilty. That's how I knew that the guy had the same attorney that she had because of the voice of the lady. What was the guy in this other trial? The last rapper who was just found guilty. He had the same. He had McBenoit's attorney, the woman with the Jamaican accent. He had her. What is his name? Queso. Is it Queso? Anyway, so I felt that was unfortunate, and I know that people are not going to understand it. Even when you listen to the, what do you call those kind of impact statements from the father and the mother. The father ended his impact statement with saying, Donna, I hope you live, it's a Jewish saying, to we bid you 120 years. So I hope you live 120 years inside. Is at that moment he solidifies my position that she didn't have a jury of her peers. She needed a Jewish-based peoples there. People would have understood the dynamics between how that father wanted to raise his children, but also they would have understood the bickering that they tried to say was a contentious marriage. The reason why those people had an era of arrogance amongst them, the ones who testified, I can't. The bias in Tallahassee, one, many of those people were the man's students, or they knew the victim, should not even be part of this trial. And the fact that it's it should never have taken place in Tallahassee. So it's just so many reasons why it shouldn't have been there. Donald Adelson, she was supposed to have the other attorney that was her attorney, that she gave to her son. And then when it came time to defend her, he couldn't because her son was like, no, you can't use him. She gave her son her attorney. I know it's a alternative lifestyle from where we live. But when I look at justice and I look at how it is not equally spread out here, I can find the inequities in it. And this is one of those, right? For from my perspective. But I know some people just feel like, the revenge is in. The people that murdered the man have been put away. And the state was willing. They were willing to give McBenoit, right, Katie, 0 days incarceration initially. And they keep trying to say, as each is when they arrested Donna, they found out more facts. They're lying. They've had this whole thing sitting there. It is, I don't want to say it, but when I was growing up, there was this group of people that owned these properties, right? And the properties caught on fire. And a group of people that had the investment in it was a Jewish constituent, consulting group or whatever, right? All of them were Jews. And I remember standing near the night of the fire, watching, the place, and listening to the townspeople talk about that was Jewish lightning. And the things that they said were just like, as a kid, I was like, who says these things about peoples? They have their own way of doing business. I would like to know the religious background of all those people participating in this trial. I think the judge was judging. I mean, I like the original judge, because when I watched this case originally with Katie McBenoit, it was the first time that I had seen in Florida courts that the judge asked the jurors if they have any questions before they dismiss the people on the stand. Imagine if this judge would have practiced that, because that's part of how they do business in Florida. If he had them asking questions during for each of the witnesses, how much more information? I mean, I saw it in that trial. I know it exists. More to come. She's not gonna win this motion for new trial, but I do believe that she should be able. They should have a hearing. They should have call those jurors in, because all 3 jurors that I heard from, I ain't feeling none of them. Digital confessions, I ain't feeling none of them. The way they did that, I just think was dirty. First of all, you got the story between the fact the girl said that she was like, if you just go through their stories, they don't even line up. And it's a shame, because it was 3 people in the room out of 12, and none of their stories line up about the process. The girl wanted to be the foreman. Well, I was going to be the foreman. We would have thought you would have been the foreman to the other guy because of your military background. He acquiesced to the young lady. Then she came out here and put a story on TikTok, and then had to build her some thicker skin quickly because she came under scrutiny. She was on the internet. People are trying to make excuses for it, but I don't recall there being admissions, as I've heard in other trials where the judges told people, like, don't go home, don't read this. But I don't really remember hearing that. But maybe because I hear it so much on other cases, I just didn't listen for it in their case. But nevertheless, she posted on the internet that she was on a trial. Then they're going to say, she didn't remove the post. how do we know that she didn't remove the original post and post another one after someone told her that she shouldn't have said that anyway? The moment she said she was on social media, then said she wasn't part of the algorithm, girl, bye. You're going to post on August 26th, you're sitting in a trial. You're a juror in a trial. Come on. I'm going to need y'all to stop peeing on my leg and then tell me that it's raining. The other guy, he now wants to become an attorney. He was annoying to me. They all looked for her to have expression. That was one of the things that they put inside their motion for a new trial, was that she was admonished not to have any expressions. The jurors said that they looked at her and saw no expression. So it weighed into her credibility to them. Y'all should have just let her phony kicking it, phony cry with no tears, and let them have evaluated her from that, more so than telling her not to show emotion. Her being, at the end of the day, the thing that hurts her the most is the women from the prison that came out and said whatever they said. I feel like they were acting as agents of the government. That's just me. And more importantly, when we saw the video of the notes that were written inside the book, right? We only heard that woman's narrative. How do we not know that that woman was telling Donna what was said, and Donna was writing it down because it aligned with what she heard from her son? So, like, man, I never need to serve on a jury because I think there will be innocent people. There will be guilty people running around here free, and maybe an innocent person will be guilty. But I've yet to feel. I don't feel like they proved to me, with beyond a reasonable doubt, that she was a principal in his murder. They did prove to me that she was an accessory after the fact. She cut checks. She did a lot of things that were after the fact. You didn't even prove to me that she brought some money over there and washed it, because I went back and I listened to the girl testify in her trial because she told so many lies. Like, these people, and she had ineffective assistance of counsel, Donna Adelson, because her counsel, though she was a former judge, and the other guy really tried his best, at the end of the day, they were disenfranchised because they did not have as much time to prep for their case as they should have. And new evidence was coming out while they was over there. And they also have an obligation not to lie. See, Donna Adelson, she could tell all the lies. But they can't tell lies. And I think they were just uncovering stuff as things were going ahead. What I would have liked to have heard in her closing argument, I would have liked for Donna Adelson's attorney to go through each of the prosecutor's witnesses, the ones that they just went up there short and sweet and provided reasonable doubt in their testimony. I feel like she missed the mark of pointing out, this one said that, and then we came and said this, and that was the answer we got. They needed to see reasonable doubt, because some people was just looking for opportunities and a shortcut out of the mess. The mess of being in the trial in the first place. With that being said, that's that trial. Let me see. I got other trials. I just been watching so many. YW and Nelly. Now, this is a little bit different than digital confessions. His Cody, forgive me for sounding all ghetto. His Cody took a plea. Shout out to that man, because I would have took one too. There's no way that I got a co-defendant. You're saying all of us was intimidating witnesses. He gets an appeal, and you gonna go forward with my case because this judge just wants to get this case off his docket? Hell to the no. Hell to the no. But if you going to reduce all of this time, I guess I'll just take I'll take what you're giving me. I don't understand. I didn't see the first trial. I've only been watching the hearings. I refuse to watch the first trial because I just want to go by whatever comes out of the second trial, even if there ever is a second trial. But I did hear the Supreme Court, because, they filed an appeal. The prosecutors filed an appeal. And I did hear the appeal. And it didn't sound like to me they was going to win. It doesn't sound like the appeal is in their favor. Hold up. Let me get my notes. And he has gotten rid of the crazy attorneys and all this other stuff and got him some new attorneys. And this person that was on the appeals, I mean, this is a different level of a different level of the process. So in January 2024, the judge in the case ruled to suppress a promotional video about Melly's life that prosecutors wanted to use as evidence. Okay? The video allegedly showed Melly holding weapons and referenced the death of his two friends, YNW Juvie and YNW Sack Chaser. Prosecutors argued it placed Melly at the scene, but defense called it hearsay and prejudicial. So the judge ruled in the defense's favor, and the prosecutors took it to, they filed an appeal. The suppression led the state to file an appeal, pausing the retrial indefinitely while the appellate court reviews the decision. And now it makes more sense because, remember, the appellate court decided, pause. You're not going to go forward you're not going to go forward with the trial in September 2025. We're going to extend this out to January 2027, right? So it doesn't make no sense, right? If they were going to rule in favor of the prosecution, they wouldn't need that much time for a reset on the trial, correct, right? So they're giving them this hearing that they had to present their case, which I think she did a terrible job because they was eating her. They was eating at her. I think they did a terrible job. And then they're probably gonna appeal that decision and go to the Supreme Court of Florida, and maybe even take it to the Supreme Court of the United States if they don't win. But let me tell you this: the injustice of having that man locked up all of these years, when the first trial he was acquitted, and then they had to is it an acquittal? It was a hung trial. Because if he was acquitted, he wouldn't have been going. They wouldn't have gone again. But anyway, they went, and he's been incarcerated the whole time. I think that's a habeas corpus, but don't quote me on it, because I'm not a lawyer. But anyway, he was able during this reset moment to get rid of the attorney that he has the same attorney that these prosecutors have taken her cell phone and gotten all her digital records and asked for it from the put a subpoena out and got her information without telling her. The only reason why the attorney found out is because Apple, a year later, sent her notification that they sent the material to the prosecutors. And the judge's position has been, well, whatever the prosecutors got from the from whatever the prosecutors got from Apple is the same content that's in your phone. Really shady. Then he trying to coerce him into changing his attorneys. But I think the change came once the mother got into an argument recently with the defense team, and then when the defense team wasn't ready for one of the arguments, one of the trial dates, and they just seemed to have totally missed it. I think the mother had enough and reached out to some other power bangers. So he's got to shake up, and he's changing attorneys while we're waiting for this to go on. The co-defendant, YNW Bortland, he took that plea deal, which gave him, I don't know what the number is now. I don't know if it's 10 years in jail and 6 years. But whatever it is, it flipped from the 16 years it was on a Friday afternoon that by the time they got here on Tuesday, it was even more of it was a better deal. It was like one of those things that you can't, you be a fool if you've turned that down. It just be best. And the reason why you would be a fool is because the two top charges were no pros. And then the other charges, he was able to, so that means no pros, means that the prosecutor would not prosecute it. And then the second and third ones were no contest. So it means that you're not saying that you did it, but there could be enough information provided by the government to prove that you may have done it. So with that being said, you're not arguing it. You're just leaving it alone. But you're not admitting to it either. So the judge will then find you guilty, and that's where he got the time differential from. From what I recall of the story is supposed to be that he's the one who drove the two to the hospital because they had been shot at. Sounds like, I don't know. I'll wait and see. But it just doesn't sound like he was in the car the whole time. I don't know what was going on with these people. Internet was all abuzz. The judge, this is the thing. We come from one trial, you get to another one, and you hear terminology, and you just get carried away. There was something mentioned like the prosecutors wanted to get some kind of meeting with him. The judge was very clear. I don't care what you tell them. He basically ain't, and he was, you gotta go back, listen with your own ears, folks. The judge was up there, and the judge said, even if you talk to them, and the whatever that proffer, that he would provide a proffer. The proffer was not contingent. So let's be clear. He was sentenced on that day. If the proffer was part of the deal, he would have needed to give the proffer before they went to court and made this deal. They're hoping to have a conversation with him that he would proffer something. It sounds like they might have another charge or two out there that they want to revisit. But at the end of the day, they didn't negotiate the proffer with this. Yes, you heard it right. They just gave him all of this without even having a proffer from him. But this internet attorneys were killing me as I was listening to channel after channel after channel break down how he's going to snitch, or how he is going to. That's mean that's something that's going to happen sometime after having this deal in front of him where he's sentenced right now in front of us. How could the proffer even be valid? I don't understand. Y'all get caught up in hearing the words, but then in its application, its execution, and its usage, you don't know nothing. Um, Let me see if I missed anything. Oh boy, I cannot believe the people that they quoting for some of this stuff. All right, I'm over it. I think that's about it. I think I want to end with that trial. That's where I've been. People been writing me and saying, yeah, they already settled with the guy. Like they've given him 10 years and 6 years probation, and he's been incarcerated for about 7 years, right? So he's got at best 3 years or so to go on his. He's in Florida. Florida doesn't have, you basically serve all your time, and they don't, and then they're gonna give him probation for a place that I think doesn't have that kind of stuff. Well, they don't have parole, but that's about it. Um, I think I'm gonna end right there. Was there something else that came to my head? Yeah, I'm gonna end right there. Listen, um, life has been lifing for me, right? Based on the type of conversations that are going on right now and the state of affairs of things in real space, right? Things that, not this cyber space, not in this digital platform where you, one moment, where people are just worried about the things that are not tangible. I'm more consumed with tangible stuff, things that have an impact on me. And I'm spending my time dealing with that. I see the content that still comes out against me in a negative. I see people try to show me in a negative light. I don't have the energy to support your hate campaigns anymore. I just don't have it. At the end of the day, um, I got more days behind me than I have ahead of me in a world that's inconsistent. Too many, too many of my cohorts, my friends, people I grow up with, are no longer here because they're letting the stressors of today get at them. I don't want to be that statistic. I don't want to argue with folks pointlessly. I could rock a good argument on a substantive item. I actually encourage that type of debate, that type of argument. But I'm not going to engage in things that is going to diminish my capacity. And I have I'm much bigger than what this platform shows. I'm much beautiful. Like, I've got so many good qualities about me that I cannot take the time to keep chasing behind folks that really don't care nothing about anything because they don't even care about themselves. That's sad. And I've spent season after season after season trying to coddle folk who just ain't gonna move no differently than what they moving. So I shout you out and I wish you the best. And I'm just gonna keep plugging on. I think I was here. I do not celebrate birthdays, but I did celebrate that day with you folks, right? Because I wanted to play bingo, Mo's bingo. And I did. And I put a different twist on something. Everything happens for a reason and everything has a season. Y'all season has set. Period. I know it and you know it. So none of us have to phony kick it and act like anything other than what it is. I enjoy the content. Those of you who want to come around and be around for my opinions on the state of affairs of things that are going on in our reality, be my guest. Come through, kick up your shoes and get that conversation on. But if you want to talk about something that's in a digital space, someplace that can destroy us in a drop of a dime, I don't got time for that. I bid you peace and blessings with it. And I hope the best. Because one of these days, you're going to get to my position and you're going to understand what I'm saying because you're going to feel the way I feel. And I hope that you're not on the other side of the universe when you get to be in that feeling and when you get to be in that place. Anyway, this is Mo. I've got to go. Take this digital space and do with it what serves you best. Stop serving other people. Serve yourself. And with that, I bid you and I'll see you guys soon.